You and the ideas that you hold live in a symbiotic relationship. Ideas and culture are connected to one another, and they live in and are developed and transmitted through our bodies. I'm Shona Lee, and today's video is going to be why is it so hard to live according to our insights? We have different layers of knowledge. We have sort of our cognitive models, which are the things we can articulate. We can say them out loud. We say, I believe the following things. I know the following things. You can describe the way that concepts are related to one another. You can say, I read this in this book. I read this in this book. These are in conversation like this. This is not easy. It's not easy to live according to what we think, what we believe, what our insights are. If it were, we would read one of these books and then we would live a different life. We can develop a very sophisticated plot of how to do things, and we can make these plans and then not execute. I've read dozens of books on time management, on priorities, on exercise, on fitness, on food, on values. And if we easily could adopt new worldviews and live them out, we would read a couple of books and we would move on. But what happens is that we actually have cognitive knowledge, which is that list of things, and then we have the embodied knowledge, which is the stuff by which we actually react. That we have these chemical processes that rise up in our bodies, and they've already acted it out before we've thought about it. Forms that take up residence in your body. You and the ideas that you hold live in a symbiotic relationship. Ideas and culture are connected to one another, and they live in and are developed and transmitted through our bodies. We come into the world as little creatures. We're not a tabula rasa. We're not some blank slate upon which anything could be written. But we do need the cultural forms that tell us this is where you find food, this is how you interact with other people to get things from them, to get them to do things for you. This is who you're responsible to, this is who's responsible to you. We need the culture to survive. The cultural forms are patterns that inhabit our bodies and are transmitted through us to the next generation and to the people we teach and interact with. They need us to survive as well. Culture lives in bodies, not just in our minds, not just in our books, not just in the physical objects we generate and create. It lives in our bodies. As we move through the world, each of our bodies becomes this really poor map of the universe as a whole. The parts of it that we have interacted with, the parts of it that we have read about, the parts of it that we have encountered. Each of us has these threads of all of the different identities running through our bodies. Which one is called on, which one resonates, depends on everything else around us, everything that we're interacting with. Whether we're talking to another person that we have an affinity with, whether we are called on by somebody to play a particular role, which we either adopt or resist, our interactions with the world depend on this complicated, complex web of identities and ideas and cultural forms that live in our bodies. So I'm going to put a big thing here, that we have that map and then we experience that map as ourself. And so we really defend the map that we've constructed. So this is that sense of the ego. This is the constructed self, is the sum total of all of those cultural forms, all of our experiences, all of the chemical processes our bodies run in reaction to the world around us as we encounter it. So there's all these practices that help us not react, but slow down, make a gap, introduce a gap into our reactions so that we can go, oh, I'm reacting from this particular part of myself. This aspect of myself is being called up by this interaction, and it's not helpful. And I'm going to choose to pause and make a decision. So, in principle, by doing meditation in particular, but also other things that slow ourselves down, we can say, that's not helpful right now, or that's not the part of reality that I would like to reinforce in this interaction. Enlightenment, enlightenment promises us that we have the capacity to discard that map and to engage with the terrain directly. That instead of using our set of reactions, we are able to feel into the situation we find ourselves in, where we are encountering it right now, and respond. How do we not react from that suite of identities, that suite of cultural forms which are called up variously by our running into others, and actually do something that is helpful in a moment? What happens is that we've got this set of learnable skills that arise over and over in philosophical history about confronting, illuminating what's happening inside of ourselves, recognizing when we are called to bring something less than helpful to the situation, and make a decision. Is that really what I want to do right now? Or do I want to let this go? Or do I want to step up and make the comment? That's a very complicated set. We're going to unpack that across many, many videos. But there's this set of skills to perceive backwards into yourself, to reconnect the mind and the body, to recognize the unconscious acting out through us, those cultural forms that become our constructed self acting out through us. But they're hard. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of energy. It's difficult to confront your constructed self and question the things that you experience as me and go, did I really intentionally adopt that, or was it given to me by somebody? They arise over and over in philosophical and spiritual history, but they tend to get subsumed by religions and ideologies because it's much easier to perform the rituals around looking into the self than to actually embody the practices of looking into the self. And so it's so hard to live according to our insights because they pop up and then they are suppressed by all of the other things we also believe to be true or experience as true, where we can have that moment of going, oh, this is not helpful right now. But then there's this other part of ourselves that's jumping up and going, oh no, I'm at threat. I'm in danger. Do something. And so bringing the this isn't helpful right now into conversation with the help, I'm in danger parts of the mind and the body is the practices that we do of reflection, of meditation, of bringing mindfulness to bear on our everyday actions, on as we make decisions about food, as we make decisions about how to move through the world, about how to speak, when to speak. And it's much, much easier to say, oh, I'm a good person because I did the following things, than to do the work of going into the self to become a person where you can say, I am in alignment with what I genuinely believe to be true. When I talk about enlightenment and I talk about meditation and I talk about spiritual practices, I'm not offering an escape fantasy. I want to give you the tools to get there so that you can live a life that's aligned with your deep beliefs and your deep insights. That if you are someone who believes that the world is sacred and needs to be protected, you make decisions in your day-to-day life that reflect that belief. Not beating yourself up, not holding yourself to a standard that's impossible to reach, but consciously and slowly adapting yourself to become the sort of person who makes the kinds of decisions that reflect your deep beliefs and your insights. You have the practices and they help you integrate, and you have the intellectual readings and they help you critically think, and then these things inform one another, and you develop a more sophisticated model, which eventually allows you to very, very effectively sense into the world.